GEO and LMO. So GEO, as we've been talking about for the past couple of days, is Generative Engine Optimization. But I was reading an article yesterday, I think it was on Forbes or one of the big publications, and they talked about LMO. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I optimizing for the wrong thing? Let me make sure I look it up and understand. So today I want to share with you what I learned really fast, because I think if you are learning to optimize for Geo with me, you should also understand what LMO is and what can you do to also build up your authority to address both of these strategies, right? So I just asked very simply, what's the difference between Geo and LMO? All right. So I always start with asking the LMs a very basic question. And then I try to simplify it, and then I try to bring it back up a level. So that's how I generally go about understanding something. It's almost as if you're reading something in a textbook for the first time. You read the definition and you say, okay, give me a very simple example, and then let me bring it back up a level for what my industry, my problem, etc. So I read this, was like, okay, Geo is the focus is optimizing your content so it ranks well in AI generated responses, right? So that gets your brand, your podcast, your website, or your content to be surfaced. That's what we've been working on the entire time, right? And this is exactly the tactical stuff that we've been talking about, where we're feeding the models our expertise through podcasts, right, YouTube, etc. So Geo is the new SEO, but for AI. So language model optimization, or LMO, that's where you got to structure your brand or your content so it becomes part of a training or retrieval data set for large language models. Interesting, right? So this is where you're getting your content to be used as the source of knowledge, right? Or logic by the LM itself, even before the prompt is typed. And then now what we're doing is, I, this is an interesting example. LMO is upstream and GEO is downstream. So LMO is where you're part of the model, and then GEO is where you're recommended by the model. I think they're both really, really important, right? You think about it. But when I asked this one, should I optimize for both? But they said Geo should be my priority for now, because if you're a podcast creator and you're trying to show up in the AI generated responses, right? That's where you want to be at. That's where I was using the relevance or the reference to page one of Google is now available, right? For whatever topic that you want. And this is what you got to do to show up in those responses in ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, etc. So I love how they have a TLDR, too long, don't read. So Geo optimized for AI output, LMO optimized for AI input. Interesting. This is where you be part of the brain's data, and that's how you be featured in answers. Interesting. So now this allows me to rank my podcast a lot higher, but the LMO makes my voice a little bit more trusted for AI training. Interesting. So now I asked it, hey, show me how I can be efficient with both methods so that we can practically build out a RAG database and start making content that helps both strategies. So this is what is already being done, right? We're using our podcast transcripts to populate our content repository, meaning that's our database with clean labeled transcripts, right? We already started that. We're tagging our episodes with certain themes and items so that people can find us a lot easier. And then the next step you want to do is you want to write natural language questions, which is what we're doing right now in our video descriptions that you saw yesterday in my live stream. Speaking like a human. Oh, that's so important. All right. So then the next step is, well, how do you structure for AI training, right? If you want to increase the chances of the large language models training on retrieving your work, you got to optimize your title description, which most people already did. But I like this. This is the key phrase here. You're optimizing for educational intent. In the past, a lot of people made their YouTube video titles purely for sensationalism, right? They would make it so that they want to get the most views. But I believe the trade off here is where you're now trading off sensationalism for educational value. And if you want to rank in LMO, if you want to rank in GEO, you're going to have to change your YouTube descriptions to be much more focused, to be more authoritative instead. So I like that a lot, right? Summarize expert interviews with quote blocks. See, I never thought about this one. That's a really good idea. I should start posting LinkedIn articles about everything here. So, step four, this is what we're doing next, right? After we update all of our video descriptions, then we're going to use our RAG system to extract top quotes, questions, and answers. And that's going to be fed into NAN browser bots, which if you saw my YouTube videos today, like how what I'm learning from Nate Herc. I mean, he gave me some pretty good videos to kind of watch. So I'm gonna watch these videos, learn how to do this, and then create my own database, all with the intention so that I can use that to post high value answers that are educational, value focused first, that help people instead of being self promoting. And I believe that when you care about the other person and you're creating answers and answering questions that people have, I think that's how you become the brand as a trusted source. So I like this as featured in. When that happens, that would be cool, right? Top affordable housing, top pockets in affordable housing. If you use that conversationally in your content, I think that's really, really important. Okay. All right. So fastest ROI, GEO, effort, EM, very high impact. I think this one is why I'm focusing on it. This is going to be taking a lot of work to rack database, but it's going to also have high impact. That's probably going to take 2 to 4 weeks. That sounds about right. That's probably what I'll be focusing on for the next month. So now I asked it to figure out, okay, please implement this strategy for all my content creation going forward. So I'm trying to save this priority, save this approach, and sprinkle the strategy in all my future content, right? So I like that it updates to save memory now. And I like that the chat spreads across all the different chats now, which is a big difference just since 12 months ago. 12 months ago, you had to leave everything in one chat where each person's role was a little different. Now I have the update to save memory in ChatGPT that goes across all my platforms. So if I start another chat, these elements of optimizing for GEO and LMO, that's still going to be sprinkled in. So now I always like to figure out how do I explain the difference between GEO and LMO differently. And I always like to ask it to come up with a fifth grade level comprehension strategy, meaning, hey, let's see if GEO is like raising your hand and say, hey, I want to be the top student called on when someone asks a question. And that's like shown on page one when people search. Just like when you would want yourself to show up first and say, hey, if you're asking the teacher, who's the best at affordable housing, you're going to want to show up here, right? LMO, on the other hand, it's like making sure your homework gets saved in the teacher's brain forever, right? It's like, oh, you want that person to say, hey, oh, I learned this from Kent's podcast. That's the difference between GEO being the best answer in the moment and LMO being remembered as the source that teaches the AI. Oh, this is a good analogy. GEO is as if you're winning the spelling bee today, and LMO is like you're being written into the dictionary. That's a good analogy. They had a Lego analogy. I didn't really like this one. The school library analogy, that's interesting, right? I think this one might work better, but leave a comment down below on which analogy resonates with you more. So the school library analogy goes like this, where it says GEO is like putting your book on display with a shiny cover, the perfect title. And so someone asks, hey, what's the best book about affordable housing? The librarian's going to pick your book first, right? GEO is about being easy to find and clearly answering the question. But LMO is making sure your book is actually inside the librarian's brain. So even if they don't see the cover, they'll say, oh, there's a chapter about that affordable housing topic in Kent's book. Let me tell you what he said. That's what LMO is. LMO is about getting your insights embedded inside the AI's memory. So in short, Geo help you stand out so people pick you. But LMO is where you're teaching other people like the AI, the librarian, to quote you, right? Not just trying to be visible, trying to be unforgettable. That's a good one. All right. So I like this one. Give me the best analogies for sports and game. I like the sports one the most right here because it says that imagine you're the best football player in the whole league. GEO is like getting your highlight reel on the front page of ESPN or Sports Center or those big sports network. So when someone asks like, hey, who's crushing in real estate and affordable housing? Your video pops up, right? People want to see your big plays and they want to learn more. So GEO gives you that visibility. So you show up in the right moments. LMO is getting your name written in the team's official playbook. I think of this a little bit differently. I kind of think about like if there's certain plays, right? This year in football, the big play was the tush push, right? Big play that was kind of perfected by the Philadelphia Eagles. And then people started copying that type of play. So they study your moves and they start actually using your strategy in the game so that other people start using the tush push. So that's influence. That's how I think about LMO. Another way I think about LMO is like imagine a person who did the first spin move in the NBA. The spin move is one of the hardest moves to ever guard in basketball, right? And that just became the way the game is played if you can perfect it. So that's why I like using this for that analogy. So then I thought, okay, well, now that I got those simple analogies taking place, how do I bring it up a level? How do I make it relevant for real estate? And this is very interesting, right? So if you ever think of GEO, right, and someone asks ChatGPT, like, hey, who's the go to expert for affordable housing? If the content that I put out is GEO optimized, my name, my message from our community, that's going to show up first. That's visibility. LMO, let's think of, well, if someone asks you, how do I structure a LIHTC deal, right? If the LMs are pulling from my podcast transcripts, our interviews on the podcast and our frameworks, that's influence at scale. That's pretty cool, right? Geo gets you seen, L1 gets you trusted by those who are learning. And in this example, all the AI, the LMs are learning on behalf of us. They're remembering every single thing. So I hope this was helpful, everybody. I thought this was very important topic for us to understand because as we're heading into this new world, we need to figure out what we're optimizing for. And if there's opportunities for us to optimize for both based on how we structure our data, how we create our content, how we push out the content about affordable housing, all these elements are going to be super, super important for how we do it. All right. So I hope you all have an amazing day. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 624, I believe. 625. All right. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you all tomorrow for day 625. How it going, everybody?